Hello, everyone. Welcome to a City Church podcast. This is a worship podcast. My name is Jason, and I am the worship director at City Church, and this is Nigel.
Hello.
Nigel is one of our members at City Church, also a member of the worship team at City Church, sings most Sundays. You can find him singing like an angel.
And you too. You're there like,
We're all singing,
you're
yes.
always on Sundays.
Yeah. Well, most Sundays, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on. This podcast is, Nigel and I met about a year ago. Actually, a year ago this week-ish, nearish. And you start coming to City Church, and then maybe a few months ago, we started talking. One of the unique things about you coming to City Church, you were kind of like, this is really cool. I feel welcome here. I feel invited here. I feel like I can belong here, but there's a lot about City Church that I don't have in my tradition growing up.
Yeah.
And so I remember you saying to me, like, could you put together like a website and tell people like songs? And we've done some of those things. We have a Spotify playlist. We have things like this, especially for new folks coming in who don't come from our tradition or come from super evangelical traditions. Worshiping in like a liturgical context is kind of unique.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, we should just talk about it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about all things worship. We're going to talk about worship happening at City Church, our own stories. We're going to bring other people on, other folks who want to join in this conversation. And we don't have a name. We're thinking about a name. Well, we had a few names.
One of our names, it's Transcending Boundaries.
Transcending Boundaries.
Yes. I think it sound pretty good. But
if you like Transcending
Boundaries, we're not married
Boundaries,
to it. Yes.
No. But if you like it, let us know. But our hope is to share about who we are at City Church, what we have going on at City Church, and kind of this unique position we find ourselves in, living in San Francisco, that is wildly popular to talk about online. And we think it's awesome. And we think that there's good news here in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So we're not really committed to like a path necessarily. We're just on a journey, and this is this is going to be an organism that's living and breathing and can be whatever it needs to be as we unpack this. So yeah, does that sound like a good deal?
Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
Cool. So yeah, we met like I said, we met at the Queer Christian Fellowship Conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You are going again in a few weeks, correct?
Yeah, and this year the conference is held in Atlanta.
In Atlanta,
and
so
every year it's gonna be a different location, and they did it last year, New Mexico, Albuquerque, and this year is in Atlanta. And so I'm excited that I'm traveling around to different cities. It's kind of like a excuse for a trip as well, you know?
Yes, this is great. I will be watching here with our friends at the City Church office. We're going to do a watch party on Friday, I think, just for Friday night, or just gather together for food. But we'll talk about more of that when you go.
Yeah.
And we'll
do like a review.
We'll talk about how we met, how awkward and fun that was.
Yes.
It wasn't awkward.
It was fun.
It was all fun. We'll talk about that. But yeah, tell me more. As we begin, let's talk about ourselves a little bit, because we love to talk about ourselves. But tell me about your story. Like, how did you get here at this table today?
Wow, that's a big ask for like the limited time that we have. But yeah, my name is Nigel. I joined City Church about a year ago. Yeah, and it is after a decade, 10 years of being away from the church and the Christian community. And so coming in here, I think I did have like some expectations, but then it's challenged me to kind of abandon those perceptions. So I came from a mega church background that is like evangelical, Pentecostal. Yes, we used to speak tongues.
Where was
in
this?
church? In Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah, and charismatic. So we believe in like the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and I I didn't grow up as a Christian in the Christian household. My parents are Buddhists or Taoists, and so like I also have that side of spirituality that I bring to the table. But yeah, I joined like a youth church that was kind of part of like a mega church environment, and so the praise and worship that I'm used to, it's quite different from what City Church does.
Yeah.
And
engages with, right?
And so it's very different, but then I feel like it's also a very fresh breath of air to be in City Church and learning about different traditions. There are different Christianities, and so I come from the evangelical Christian background, and it is quite challenging to also deconstruct some of the things that I've learned from that era of my life. And so I hope that, you know, if there's somebody who's listening, watching that has similar experiences, you know that, you know, somebody else is also going through something or has been through something that you have been through, and we can talk about it, explore it, and see how we can evolve from the things that we learn. Yeah.
That's great. I think another reason we want to do this is because of your background, like you just shared, and my background are so different.
Yes.
I was not born in Singapore.
Yes.
I want to go to Singapore. It's on the list. I'm going to go at some point. It looks amazing. I can't wait. But I was born in East Tennessee in the Appalachian Mountains. Have you ever been to Appalachia?
No.
What do you
or
know
even
about
or even
Appalachia?
Tennessee. I don't know if I know anything about.
You know Dolly Parton?
Oh yes. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So
Dolly Parton is like the unofficial official spokesperson for where I'm from.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So country.
Yeah, country. That's a good term.
Right?
Yeah.
Country,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. It's like beautiful. There's mountains, there's trees.
So it's not like city like San Francisco.
Not at all. Like the biggest city close to me is Knoxville, Tennessee, and it's not that many people. It's not that big either. Yeah. But it feels, I would say it's funny. San Francisco to me feels very similar to where I grew up, because San Francisco is in a sense of energy. Like it's a very small town, San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I come from a very small place where kind of everyone knows everything about you.
But not as crowded, right?
Not as crowded.
Okay.
That's the one thing, yes. But the same energetic level, I would say.
Okay.
But I grew up in church. So I grew up in a Baptist church, Southern Baptist church.
Wow. Okay.
I like to say I was born on the front row and quickly moved to the back row.
Okay.
Because there's a term called back row Baptist.
Wait, what's that?
I don't know the exact definition. What I've come to decipher it means is like Baptists tend to be like very they lack a lot of expression. They kind of want to avoid sharing their emotions in some ways. And so the back row is like, we'll sit at the back row and with our arms crossed and engage with worship. If I'm wrong, I could be wrong. It's fine.
You could
I'm
be.
okay being wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
Wait, so you were front row first?
I like to say I was born on the front row.
Okay.
Because I didn't have a choice. It's like I'm in church.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah. We would sit near the front. Yes. But I knew only that tradition for so many years.
Yeah, but your parents are not ministers, right?
No, but I have like that particular church. My grandparents actually worked in the worship ministry.
Okay.
Choir director, piano player. Yeah.
And that's why you kind of followed your footsteps.
I wouldn't say it.
Or
yeah.
I guess
I would say it was like singing was the thing.
Yeah, like
music.
musically
inclined. My
inclined.
mom's are musical.
Okay.
Dad musical. Yeah. So all of that for sure. And I think, so, in starting this dialogue, we have these very unique perspectives. And I had a similar journey of my own kind of. I would say you said you like to use the word that you were away for 10 years. I was away, but I was here. So it's a little different.
Okay.
It's a popular term, deconstruction. So I would like to say that I got away for 10 years, but my getting away was like theologically getting away, not presence. I was still in the church, but wrestling through a lot of things. Like I personally think most worship directors are wrestling with these things all the time. I think these big theological questions about what are we doing in worship and why are we doing it, and what are we doing in church and what is the role of church and what is the point of church. So we can talk about all of that. But yeah, over the years, so I began leading musical worship in the 90s. When bands became a thing in worship. You probably only know band.
Yeah, like there's like drums in church.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, well, the thing is, my youth church was also not like in a like typical like cathedral. You know,
it wasn't
like
in a
like
church building.
With like those beautiful like tainted glass, and you know there's like there wasn't even like a crucifix in the church. It was like in a office space and with like fluorescent light, and there was just like a platform, like a very
Did
small.
you have pews or chairs?
And we have chairs.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. So that's like one of the signs, right? And then we have so like they have a drum set, and then like the drum set will have like the acrylic kind of like panel,
plexiglass.
Yeah.
Drummers do not like that.
Yeah, it kind of like separates you from the band.
It's not fun.
I guess. And then there will be a projection screen.
You only know projector.
Yes.
See, I know.
So
hymnal.
like I
know.
Yes.
Overhead. Do you know what? Do you?
No, like I've
yeah.
never held anything in my hands in church, ever.
Well, you said you were in a more Pentecostal environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your hands had to be free.
Yes, so we can raise it up.
That's right.
Or like praise and worship for me.
Was it
like,
long sets of music?
It was. It's quite choreographed. I feel like it's always like a very like a banger kind of like a praise song first to bring up the energy.
I love that you use the term banger for
right.
that.
And then and then youth church, so we'll be jumping up and down.
Yes.
And of course, it's kind of like a herd mentality too. If you're a 13-year-old going into a crowd of like youths, and then you're just like, okay, I'm gonna do whatever everybody's doing so that I'm not like the awkward kid.
Yeah.
Right. And so then we were just jumping up and down vertically, and so we do that, and then like maybe there's a second praisey song before we go into like a mellow like close your eyes.
Jesus is your lover song. Yeah.
Let's welcome the presence of God.
Okay.
That sort of sequence, right?
Right.
And then so that is like my experience of church when I first became like a believer. Yeah.
Yeah, mine was like I had a similar experience in that I grew up definitely singing. There was a choir and there was a choir director.
How big is the choir? Like
the
10
church
people?
wasn't that big. There was like 20 people, probably 25.
So there's space enough for 20.
Yeah, we also went to church 3 times a week. So we were at church.
You guys are busy.
Yeah, I want to say from the age of like 0 to 18, I was at church like I don't know, like 15 hours a week.
If you're in church so long, you probably like have no time for television.
You have no time to sin. That's the thing.
Oh yeah,
we can talk about that.
Yeah,
you gotta get your sinning in.
Oh my god,
in the other hours. But similar to your youth experience, when I got to youth age, was kind of like, have you heard the term worship wars?
No.
So I grew up in the age of worship wars. And worship wars were over like, should we have chairs like you had? Or we had pews. And it's like, can we get rid of the pews and have chairs? And that's like should we have, is it okay to have drums? Or should we just have an organ and a piano, which is still pretty common in most mainline churches, right?
Yeah.
Mainline Episcopalian, kind of Presbyterian, Methodist. If you go into those older churches that look like a church, you're probably getting an organ and a piano.
And not a electric guitar.
No electric guitars. That was
or like
demonic.
no bass.
Yeah.
Too demonic.
You sold your soul for rock and roll. That's like a term. You sold your soul to the devil for rock and roll.
And then how do people learn the songs if they have no like screens.
So we had a hymnal, which behind this camera is all of our hymnals. That
It's like a book. It's like a booklet.
A booklet of songs. Yes.
Okay.
So the benefit of that is from early age, we were all singing like notes on a page. So you kind of intuitively learn music theory and how to like sing.
They are like
because it's
scores
written for you. Yeah, it's written out for you. Yes.
What?
Yes.
Oh wow.
And so like that was like so in that way it was very beautiful because it's very musical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have like people in the congregation because you got 4 parts. So some, if you're an alto and you know your line, so in the congregation you're hearing like the 4 parts.
No
which is
way.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, so that is actually
there's
very beautiful.
It's beautiful, but there's none of this happening in your environment.
I mean, like there'll be like too much to show on the projector. It's just like
some people do it actually.
I guess this is why, like in City Church we'll have the score in front of us, and then we'll
sing,
and then we'll sing, right?
Yeah,
and I sometimes I just have a really hard time, also having ADHD that like I have to listen and then I have to look and I have to like decipher the words and then the notes and then like singing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like when I'm too in my head, like trying to make everything perfect, I can't really.
You can't be present.
I can't bring the emotion that I want to bring. But then like growing up, I would just learn the song by remembering the melody in my head.
Oh, right.
So and also we raise our hands, we close our eyes, and so we don't. We close our eyes. We don't use our eyes. So like for me to do worship by looking at like the scores, it's something that I'm still like trying to get used to.
And I am like not interested in that changing you. Yes. This is one of the unique things about City Church, I think, is like we want to make space for these backgrounds and these influences that we have to like be present in genre and style. And so we're like working on that. We're like building into that as we pursue more inclusive worship and more expressive worship and whatever that looks like. But yeah, for me, it was, when I found what you had, I was like, whoa, like this is how worship can be. I was overwhelmed the first time I can't remember really necessarily. It was probably when I was a teenager, I'm guessing, or like 13, 14. It was probably like a song like Lord, I Lift Your Name on High. Do you know this song?
No.
Okay. Well.
Wait, you want to...
Lord, I lift your name on high. You ever seen this?
Nope.
It's got hand motions. Yeah. Nope. It's a very youth song. Every Move I Make was another one. Every move I make, I make. These are very simple 90s worship songs.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, I thought worship was these and thous and just words that quite honestly as a kid I didn't understand.
Yeah,
and then
like
I'm
New King James kind of English.
Yeah, like, and that was what I grew up with, right? And so when I heard like praise and worship, I was kind of like, this is really cool. I was like, really, it took my spiritual journey and my faith into new ways. And it was funny because I mentioned earlier the worship wars thing. Like this was a very complicated system and setup, because you had these two kind of things merging together throughout my quote call to ministry and quote career. Like I've kind of traversed that. I remember leading worship. One of my first early memories of leading worship, like with a band, was probably when I was 18. So it was like 99, 2000, somewhere around there. And I remember we were leading worship. I was leading worship with the youth band, and we couldn't play Sunday morning worship. That was reserved for the organ and the piano only. We got to do Sunday night church because, Sunday night's a bit more casual. Like, I'm assuming
like you wear jeans.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. Yes. Yeah. And so I remember like they had a revival. Did you have revivals?
Oh my God, that term kind of like, it's like triggering.
Okay. Beautiful.
But yes,
What were your revivals like?
my revivals,
Was it like a multi-day thing or just like a one-day thing?
I think it involved a lot of like prayer meetings, or like there will be also like 24-hour marathon praying, and then like every group, we call it cell group, like every cell group will have its own like allotted slot and
To
then
pray.
to pray and
sing praise.
And it's a lot of just like speaking in tongues.
Okay.
I mean, that is like mine.
Beautiful. Yeah.
my experience of revival. Yes.
Yeah. So when the tradition I grew up in, Southern Baptist tradition, it was like a guest speaker and a guest musician who were traveling the country, and they would come for like 3 or 4 nights. And usually there was like a youth focused night. So they would have like a guest youth speaker. So the youth band got to play, and I'll never forget this memory of like leading I Could Sing You of Your Love Forever.
Okay, I know
song?
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And watching half of the crowd leave the room.
No way.
And there was probably like, I'm guessing there was probably 300 people in this room.
Okay.
So imagine 150 people leaving just because we had a band, because we weren't doing, organ, piano music. And that was like, I was like, okay, that was kind of different. After the service, someone came up to me that I kind of like always had like a curious relationship with, and that it was someone who was an elder in the church, like an elder in the church, like he was older too, but like a leader, elder, deacon was what it was called. And he was like, I just want you to know God is on your life, and I am so happy that you did this and that you just kept going. And he said some prophetic words over me, which I'm assuming you've also had.
Yeah.
I've had that happen multiple times as well.
Oh.
But that was like an early memory. It was kind of traumatic too, because you're like, why are you leaving? Am I that bad? Yeah. But it was a resistance. It was the worship wars of like hymnody versus modern praise and worship.
Okay, now that you mentioned about like touring, I did remember
touring like speakers,
like touring speakers. Yeah, I did remember that. Like a band that's from like maybe the UK,
like a worship band
or something. A worship band that's like traveling, and then like they're selling albums. And
is it Delirious?
No. Oh wow. It's. Yeah, I forgot the name. And they would be selling CDs, right? So like,
of course,
yeah, we don't have like, we're still like selling CDs. Yeah. So there's a band, but I did remember another kind of night is more like Healing Crusade.
Oh yeah, totally.
Right,
it's similar to that.
Healing Crusade, or at the time they do a lot of like prosperity gospel about like. So is that what revival for you too, that you are praying for healing, or you're praying for literally like wealth?
That would have been nice. No. They were
you guys are just like, I want to be closer to Jesus, please.
Yeah. No, for us it was all about salvation. So in that context, in that theological lane, it's all the kind of it's usually like an evangelist. That's what the term is. And their whole thing, like,
so
do you know Billy Graham, the evangelist, like that style, like he's, God has blessed this person to come in and save souls. So there was always like a message, and then like a time for you. They would play Just As I Am, this old hymn. Do you know this song?
No.
It has like 7 to 17 verses. And
that's too much.
You love those songs. We do some of those songs sometimes. You're like,
not 17 verses.
Yeah. But they would play Just As I Am without one, and they would talk. They would kind of share the gospel. They would say. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to get you to make a commitment to God to be saved.
Yes.
And so that's how I had an experience like that
Yes.
with a revival with an evangelist.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I think I can remember that. I mean, like, I was like a teen, right? So but I can remember
Weeping.
crying.
Yeah.
Like, but well, I mean, it's about church growth, right? It's about church growth. And so, when it comes to like a healing crusade, or it comes to like a prosperity kind of like message, it's about telling people that like if you become a Jesus follower, you believe in Christ, you call yourself a Christian, you say, like, I give my life and my soul and my heart to God, that I will be healed, that I will like step into a life of abundance, and it's very attractive.
Yeah.
And then when during the altar call, do you guys do altar call?
That's
Like,
what it is.
Yeah, and then there'll be
Yeah.
swarms of people going in there in front of the stage, right? And then
Yes.
you're like, yay, like we got new souls being saved. And yeah, I mean, coming from a mega church background, like, church growth is everything,
Right.
because we are always also every year raising funds. We call it a building fund, because we're always trying to find a bigger space. And well,
bigger
also
office building.
So like then the church actually grew like quite big, that we go from offices to actually like,
Building.
So like for example, my youth church, like I was probably like in the hundreds, like in 100, right? Like I was one of the 100 youths, and then like
That's a huge youth
group.
group.
And then like maybe in like 1.5 years, we became like 1,000.
Wow. Okay.
But then the thing is like the main church, the mega church that I went to, and when I became an adult, like I went to the main church. It is like 10,000 people every service, and we have like multiple service over the weekend, like stadium. Yeah. So that is like my context of that, and so like altar call, like if there's not like at least 20,
someone's
20,
getting fired.
There's not like if there's no like 20 people standing in front of the stage, like like people are like, oh no,
Spirit
like
didn't move.
Yes.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so there's a certain kind of expectation. But I mean, growing up in the youth church, I was also kind of taught this way, where we learn about like this kind of structure. So like literally like a newcomer is called a sheep.
Oh, okay, sure.
And then we have a leader. We have the sheep. And how many sheep do you have? And
it's like a pyramid scheme.
I don't know. And so like then like as a sheep, your role is to get more sheep.
Yeah.
Your role is to get more sheep.
I think it's very similar. Yeah.
Like literally every week we have to like report like how many friends we are going to bring.
Did you have accountability partner? Do you know what that is?
No.
Oh, okay. This is like
accountability.
Accountability.
So is it like you and another Christian person?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like Christian, like how are you living? How are you not sinning in the world?
Oh.
This kind of thing. Did you have that or no?
I think ours.
You were in a small.
Our version is like how many friends are you bringing to church?
Bringing to church, yeah.
Yes, and
like
we'll submit like 3 names to our leader, of like these are the 3 person that I think I can bring to church, and I'm gonna pray for them. and then a team will submit all the names. So like, okay, my team, we have 20 potential people that we can bring. And then there's the division.
Yeah.
Which is then like, oh, I think this week we can, and also if it's like a Easter or Christmas, we have targets to hit. we have targets
sales goals. Yeah.
To hit.
Okay.
And so I guess like
revival
is like it's everyday thing.
It was like a year, but there was like a season. It was like seasonal, right?
Especially for Christmas, and then also how do we get people to come to church? is to put out a
Coffee
production.
and donuts and a production.
Production.
No coffee and donuts.
I mean, like there's maybe like a Christmas album.
Nice. Okay.
And like there'll be the candlelight service. But yeah, like in the mega church, it will be a production that's drama talking about. There's like I mean, you cannot believe the creativity, but there's like drama. There's like a drama original script, but it combines with like the crucifixion of Jesus, and it's just like it goes together, and you're like, wow, and the production that's cool. It's to kind of draw people in.
But you this whole time you weren't doing any worship. You weren't singing on worship team. Were there youth age people playing in worship or no?
I mean, in the youth church, definitely there'll be like youth. And then like my leader, he is a bassist. Like he plays the bass. Okay,
cool. But you weren't doing anything.
I feel like it was like a voice in my head that like told me that I wasn't good enough. But then there's also
I can imagine in this space where there's like this wild production,
where
there's like a standard, right?
You have to be good enough.
Yeah, you had to audition probably.
Yes, you have to audition, right? And you kind of like, if you compare yourself with somebody who's already doing it, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like how can they be so awesome? Like I can never be like that. And and also I think there's this sense of like calling. Like, are you called? Are you anointed by God?
Those phrases
like
were thrown around, right.
and that is I think determined by your proximity to the leadership of the church, right? So if you are like,
it's funny
like
how that happens.
like the niece or nephew of like the pastor, and then you are more likely to be on the worship team, and so you have to work your way up.
It's like the family business.
You have to work your way up,
right? And
then you're still the backup singer, right?
You're not Joel Houston,
so there is. So I feel like I wanted to go on that journey, but then there's also this voice that said that
you're not good enough.
Like maybe, have you heard yourself? And then I think the point that really killed everything is when I come to terms that I'm gay. And that is like definitely like at the time, right? It's a sin that you have to overcome first
before you can even consider auditioning.
Yeah, so at that time, and that was also something that I believed, that I have to overcome homosexuality first before I can serve God. Or maybe like I can serve God in like a tinier way, like I'm the usher,
You can pass out a program.
But not like on a spotlight. On the stage.
Did they use the term? Some churches use the term platform. Did they talk about that? Like who's on the platform?
Yeah.
Do you know this term? Did they use that or no?
I think it's just like who is on stage or.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
I think I was like 15.
15, yeah.
15.
Yeah, that's going to be like, there's this like, the sitting with the weight of that, and like, because would you say that voice inside that was saying like, you're not good enough was also saying like, but you can do this. Was it saying that as well or no?
I guess like, and then like I left church for a while. I mean, that's like for another story, but it's also touching on like conversion therapy and that sort of thing.
Did you share that with anyone in the leadership or no? Or you just knew this isn't a safe place? Yeah. I kind of like one Sunday I'm there and one Sunday I'm not, and then like and then I'm just like, no, I mean like my people are like, where are you?
My leader will be like, one of my sheep is
The bass player.
yeah, one of my sheep is going away. Like what's happening? And then I'm just like, I think I don't belong here because I need to I need to get rid of my gayness before I can come back into the house of God and do what I feel like I want to do.
Yeah. Right.
And so, yeah. And
was they saying that to you ever, or no? It was just implied.
I mean, like, I think it's you don't need somebody to say in your face like you are second class citizen, or like you're like you are less. You're not good enough.
Yeah.
You don't need somebody. You can just feel it.
Feel it, right?
Yeah, that like they are hesitant when it comes to like opportunity or when people want you, you know that they want you.
I love knowing. I thank you so much for sharing. And there's like there's like a history of like worship leaders coming out. Do you know?
Wait, really? I just know about them like cheating on their
there's
partner.
That too, yeah.
I think we know that one.
Yeah, there's also like I don't know. Growing up, it's funny how many worship leaders I knew who are now like gay.
And still, and are they still
no? Most
Christian?
of them are not
you're
Christian
not
anymore, right?
Yeah, and so like you can see how like I mean, it's also theologically like problematic to think that like you have to step away from God because of your sexuality, right. Or you have to like fix it first before you serve. That you have to be perfect in some way before you can serve God or call yourself a Christian. Yeah, that is like we can talk about that in the future.
Yes, I think that's like that's like something that feels like a product to me going through that and like going through my journey in the space and like sitting with people and hearing their stories over the years. It feels very tied to evangelicalism and very tied to like all of these things you're saying, like the sheep and the people, and like you need to be perfect before you can be up here. And that's like that's so wildly not what you see in Jesus' story at all, ever.
And so, I mean, like, and thankfully, like, I mean, now at City Church, I'm singing.
You're singing
on Sundays, and it's not that like you guys let me sing and then found out that I'm gay, right? Which happened to me.
We actually only let you sing because you're gay.
Which, will be another story, but which, I have an experience where I was taken off the list after they found out the fact, which I don't even know. Like, isn't there a gaydar on? But so that one will be for another time.
Yeah, and we also want to unpack queer worship, queer theology in this at some point.
Yeah, we
Maybe
should.
Pride Month.
We should.
Pride Month.
I think this is something that is just not talked about enough, and people need to know about, other theologies and version of Christianities out there. There's not just like one way of doing things, one way to be perfect, one way to serve God, to believe in God, to love people. I think we need to put this out there so that people can feel like, oh, I actually belong somewhere.
Yeah, and people, so they have the courage to like move. Because I think a lot of people are curious. Like, I think most people are curious. I want to believe that. But it takes a lot of courage to do what you've done. It takes some courage to do what I've done, which is like walk through all the theological iterations, which we'll get into at some point, of my story of like, even how I'm here now. I'm a graduate of Liberty University.
Yes.
We can talk about that. Go LU. I was there, the founder of that school founded the evangelical, right? And
well, I mean, I want to hear about that.
He's
because
the one that said the Teletubby was gay. Do you remember this story?
No.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about all that.
Okay.
But thank you for sharing that. I feel like this is like going to be an experience, and we'll see how it goes. What are you like? We're just, again, this is a breathing organism. So what are you excited about this year in 2025?
I am excited about more of what I'm going to learn in seminary. So I'm in my second semester of my first year. And I think, like being in City Church is also
City Church is
that
a
push.
it's a mini seminary. It's like little seminary.
And it inspired me to, go into this. And so far, I really enjoyed my first semester. So I'm really excited about what I will learn the second semester, and also what I can then use what I've learned to contribute to City Church.
Yeah.
It can. Yeah, I mean, like the ideas is endless. So I'm excited about that, and being in the worship team right now, going into Easter, there'll be like something that is
you shared your story last year at Easter.
Pretty big, right? But yeah.
And
we can talk about that. But yeah, to be more involved in the worship team, to bounce more ideas off you, and like starting this podcast is also something that I'm just like, hey, you want to do it? And then you're like, we should. Right?
Yeah, I've never really talked about my I've just had all these experiences,
or these ideas, or these songs,
right.
or
I've
these.
never really spoken about it, and I've never shared about kind of my journey, and especially over the last 10 years as I've been in more inclusive spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and especially I've worked with so many beautiful queer pastors in San Francisco and leading worship in different settings, and just being welcomed in and being curious, and I've just never really unpacked that and talked about the tools in my toolkit has grown since school, right? I now have this I have many little brushes I can paint with, and I think it's kind of cool.
Maybe a hammer or like a shovel.
I had a hammer. I do have a hammer as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is my favorite tool to use. Yes.
Yes. What about you? What are you looking forward to for 2025?
I'm looking forward to Easter for sure. We're going to be back at Golden Gate Park this year. It's actually 420. So that's already a high holy day here in San Francisco.
Yes.
And it's going to be wild because Golden Gate Park on that day is Hippie Hill. There's 20,000 people, and we're going to be doing our thing near there. And so it's going to be this convergence of two very interesting cultures together and communities.
It's really like church beyond the walls.
Yeah.
We're doing church outside of church.
Yes. And it is it's kind of to get back to your revival evangelistic thing that we were talking about, it's kind of an evangelistic outreach because people can hear us. People heard your story last year, they just came to Golden Gate Park for a Sunday morning stroll.
Thankfully, the weather was so good,
yeah,
right?
Here you are sharing your heart. And they're just I just woke up today and wanted to go for a walk. And we sang, we're singing. Last year we sang.
It was such a good event.
Yeah, we did Flamey Grant songs, which we met at the QCF conference. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about doing these conversations and writing more songs.
Will we be hearing the songs soon?
Yeah, I think we can hear some songs.
Or are you just
soon.
gonna
just hold them forever? And also seeing who is coming into this community. It's such it's a community in transition still, and very much, and there's new energies, there's new people coming, and seeing how we can work together and bring their stories and their Pentecostal backgrounds like yours into this container. I really see my role is creating a safe container for people to connect with God and with one another in. That's kind of how I see my role on Sunday. And I would love to do things my way, but
slowly
yeah,
making it more and more Jason.
Yeah. I would love to just have I have very unique musical tastes, and we are nowhere near my musical tastes. Mine tends to be more electronic and rocky. And so it's really cool. We have this convergence of like classic hymns and taze, different traditions like you talked about, right?
Yeah.
We have all these kind of traditions. We're gospel, modern CCM that we do. We don't, if you're coming to City Church, similar to like you came in, you were like, what are these songs? I remember you asked me that. Like, do you have a playlist? And we made that playlist. So like really like seeing what we can do, how we can connect with God through different stories, expanding our consciousness and our minds, opening ourselves up to where God is working in our lives, in our midst, and really seeing God in like normal everyday things. From early, like I remember my first job out of Liberty. That particular church was very evangelical, but they were the type of church where they would start with like a rock song. So we would sing like Coldplay, and then we would do like...
Wait, literally? Like
Coldplay? Yeah.
With no words changed?
No words changed.
Wow.
But it was attractional, right? It was like it was like in New York City. So, and the band was awesome. Everyone was awesome. So like it was very much an attractional model to like being in the spaces I've been in over the last 6-7 years, especially where it's like we're playing with gender, we're mixing up, we're blurring the lines of queering worship, queering theology. We're blurring the lines of like what is worship. We're drawing from all these different expressions, and we're really not giving any sort of. We're not saying this is the only way. Yeah. I think that's the thing I want to avoid at all times, because so much of my story, and probably similar to you, I'm guessing, is like, this is the only way to do it.
100%. Yes.
And this is why we like transcending, what was it?
Boundaries,
yes.
Yeah. Transcending expectations, transcending traumas.
Transcending traumas. There's certainly a lot of traumas. But we will get into all of that, and we hope you will listen. And if you are hearing this and you're part of City Church, we want you to join us in this worship environment. Yeah. We both think that there's a lot of people in our midst who sing and play. We hear you on Sunday. There's a lot of good singers at City Church. Yeah. A lot of people who sing in general. And there's so many ways you can get involved in the ministry. There's choir led by Stephanie, and then Sunday worship, obviously. There's reading ministry. There's worship slides. There's so many ways to get involved. And so we hope by having these conversations, by inviting other people in, there will be ways that we can expand and grow in new realms together.
Oh, I like that. Realms.
So here's to 2025.
Yes.